Hey kids, welcome to a long-delayed episode of Alexander Does Not Agree with Everyone Else. Annabelle Creation is a movie that's set within the Conjuring universe, created and produced by James Wan, and serves as a prequel to 2014's Annabelle, which I never saw. I'll get back to that a little later. This movie opens up with this doll maker who's married and has a daughter, but the daughter gets killed in a car accident, as in she runs into the road and gets hit by an oncoming car. So several years pass. He allows a nun and a group of girls to stay in their house, but unfortunately the spirit of the daughter starts haunting the entire house and is taking the form of one of the dolls that he's created, Annabelle. And from this point on, demonic shit ensues. So, like I said before, I've never seen the original Annabelle movie. I've seen both Conjuring movies, which I really like both of them. I really love The Conjuring, and I regret that I didn't see it in the theater. But Annabelle, I missed. I just figured a movie based on a doll that's supposed to be a horror movie. Okay, I get that some people are scared of these dolls that are just like sitting in a corner staring at you, but that can't work as a full movie, and from what I've heard from that first movie, it didn't. I mean, it probably didn't help that that movie was directed by the guy who directed Mortal Kombat Annihilation, so if that was not a warning sign already, then I don't know what was the warning sign for that movie. So I was wondering, what could they do with this movie, Annabelle Creation? First of all, I have to say right off the bat that I'm grateful that this is a prequel, so I didn't have to go see the first Annabelle movie, because if that movie's really as bad as people say it is, then I'm not wasting my time just to prepare for this movie. So I'm grateful that it's a prequel. Unfortunately, though, based on what I saw and what my opinions are, I can't imagine how bad that first movie must have been, because this one, while not terrible, it's not one of the worst horror movies I've ever seen. It's definitely a cliched one, and that's kind of disappointing considering that this is produced by James Wan, who, whenever he is associated with a horror movie, whether he's directing it or just producing it, usually I get excited, and I think it's going to be a hell of a lot better than it usually has a right to be, because in past videos I've seen that a lot of horror movies today are for shit, but as time goes on, we're starting to enter, like, a new golden era of horror. Okay, maybe not golden era, but definitely a new renaissance of horror movies where they're becoming a lot better and have a lot more artistic integrity put into them. But with Annabelle Creation, it just seems like one of the most cliched horror movies in a while. It's based on a spirit haunting the place, and it's not a slasher movie with a body count, so that's something that I always give credit for James Wan whenever it comes to these movies, because it's never about like the kills or the gore, it's really about scaring the audience. But unfortunately, most of this movie consists of jump scares. Whereas when you watch The Conjuring, and even The Conjuring 2, which I like a lot also, both movies did rely on a creepy atmosphere, and the storytelling was actually really good. You cared about the characters and this horrible situation that they were in, and you hope that everything seems to get resolved. Whereas in this movie, the horrible thing that these characters have to endure is something that they cause themselves. I won't go into full detail because those might be considered spoilers, but a lot of the reason this movie happens, a lot of the reason why this demon is going around haunting people through this doll is based on really stupid decisions that some of the characters make. And like I said, from that point on, this demon just resorts to jump scares, which are effective, but they're the cheapest type of scare to use. And I just get mad every time a movie has a jump scare. And also, this movie is so cliched that it even has the cliched, the car won't start cliche. How many times can I say cliche? When that scene came up, when a couple of girls are trying to get the car started, but it won't start, I think I said out loud, "Oh, you gotta be fucking kidding me." I'm not one to talk throughout the movies, but you know what? If a whole crowd of people behind me were screaming their asses off and just laughing at some of the parts that got them because of the jump scares, then I think it's fair fucking game that in my little corner of the theater, I get to say, oh, you gotta be fucking kidding me, when it comes to the traditional and cliched, the car won't start trope. Which, by the way, one of the most amusing things about this movie was actually the audience that was sitting behind me. Just them screaming at every little thing that moved. Even when someone opens the door and we first see the doll, I heard a gang of girls screaming behind me. And I just, at points, wanted to turn around and go, really, people? I mean, this is one of the things that I hate when I have to go see these kinds of horror movies, is that I want to watch the movie so I can review it, but I also just want to turn my seat around and just look at the audience reactions. Just look at how they're going to react, because sometimes those reactions can be downright hilarious. And on that note, there are a few points in this movie that I found to be unintentionally funny. I don't think I was supposed to laugh at these scenes, but in the beginning of the movie, when the little girl gets hit by the car, that kind of causes this chain of events, I didn't laugh out loud, but I did snicker, because it was a death that was so telegraphed from a mile away. The second you see that establishing shot, you know exactly what's going to happen. So I just don't think it worked in me trying to get scared or frightened when the girl got hit by the car. And also, I don't think this movie is really worthy of that R rating. Nobody says the fuck word. I don't think anybody even curses outside of saying hell. There's no nudity. There's no really graphic violence. There are some bits, but there are very few in between that you could have easily gotten a PG-13 rating. So I don't know what was going on with the MPAA when they rated this movie. So I'm trashing this movie a lot. Is there anything good that I could say about it? Well, I thought in the middle there were points that were actually kind of creepy and effective. Sort of like the creepy moments that I saw in the Conjuring movies that I really admire James Wan for. I also think the performances are really good. I think because of the trend of Hollywood wanting to remake all these 80s slasher movies, I've just been accustomed to the idea that, oh yeah, acting in horror movies has to be shit. But the actors in here do a really good job, and I just wish that I cared for the characters. And the last good thing I'll say is that it's a really great looking movie in terms of the way it's shot. There's some great establishing shots to build up to the inevitable jump scares, and that's about it. I'm at this point, I'm kind of reaching to find anything good about this movie. So on the whole, I just didn't really care that much for this movie. I don't hate it. It's not one of the worst horror movies I've ever seen. It's no Bye Bye Man, but it's definitely not one of the best. It doesn't reach the heights of The Conjuring, or even something like Lights Out, which the director of that movie did this movie. And I wasn't crazy about the ending to Lights Out. In fact, I hated that ending, but I thought the rest of the movie was actually really well done, which again adds to another layer of disappointment with this one. So honestly, I can't in good conscience recommend this movie, so I'm just gonna say don't waste your money. If you feel like you have to see it, then go for it. If you're planning to take your girl out on a date and you're just looking for that leeway to get her scared and have her cuddle up next to you, then Annabelle Creation should do it. Or ladies, if you have a boyfriend that really gets scared easily, you could do the exact same thing. But for anyone else, just stick to the Conjuring movies. They're a lot more frightening and more effective with the horror elements, and really do not rely on jump scares. This one does, but again, still better than the Bye Bye Man. And that's my review for Annabelle Creation. I hope you enjoyed it. Leave a comment down below and tell me what your thoughts are on the movie, if and when you've seen it. And as always, this is the real Mr. Robinson telling you there's only one.